Hello and welcome to TV Chef Fantasy League. I am your host and commissioner, Mike Cablon. With me is my co-host, Sierra Kato. Not with me is my other co-host, Iffy Wadiway.
Iffy. You know, he wins one competition and he's out.
No, he is making his off-Broadway debut in New York, and we love him very much, and we're not taking him off the show, so we're just going to wait till he's back.
Sure.
Which should be 2 weeks from now, I think. Next week he said he could Zoom in.
Oh, yeah. He might have a small reprieve before maybe one other...
Yeah. He's a busy man.
Travel. But yes, for work.
You can tell which of the three of us is the most successful.
Yeah, by who's here.
Anyway, it's his loss because we are doing a draft today. This is the draft for Worst Cooks in America, Season 28, Celebrity Heroes versus Villains. Sort of a long title.
Good find. I mean, credits to you for sifting through the many options, you know.
Thanks. Credits to our listeners, to our Pots and Pans, for sending in so many great suggestions.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it seems like Pots and Pans, it's kind of the one.
I think it's stuck.
I think it was like the most memorable, and when, digging for something to say in real time, it's like, Pots and Pans.
It's right there. Yeah, exactly. No, people sent in so many great suggestions for what show we should do next. We picked Worst Cooks in America for a bunch of reasons. I'll go through them here. Number one, it's currently on the air. It debuted on January 5th, so it's like if I was smart, if I was smarter, we would have just rolled right into it, but I kind of missed it by a couple weeks. That's okay.
Really recent. Things happened in that interim, to be fair.
As we're recording, just so you know, just for historical context, if you're listening to this 5 years from now, the city is still on fire. So
yeah, it's still.
We're still okay.
Yeah, thankfully.
But yes, so it's on the... Okay, this is the thing about streaming shows. Some people suggested some really good streaming shows.
Yeah.
If they're all online, there's nothing stopping us from just cheating.
Yeah, that's true. We can't trust each other.
Yeah.
But also, it's maybe less fun for, watching along too if you already binged it or you're like, wait, which one am I supposed to watch? Oh, crap, I just saw a spoiler when I Googled,
This is the same reason you wouldn't do fantasy football for the 2016 season. It's like we know who won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah. Your dad already spoiled it for you.
Yeah, so it's nice that it's on the air. Here's another one. It's easily streamable. So it's on Max or Discovery Plus. I don't know who has Discovery Plus.
Oh, yeah.
Or
probably
the Food
Max,
Network stream. Yeah. But Max is the one that most people have. So you can watch it at home. That's another one. Some people, they'll suggest a show and it's like you can watch it if you use this VPN or whatever. It's like that's no one's going to do that.
Right. That's
we can, but the audience will not.
It's too much to ask. We couldn't possibly trouble you.
Or if you want to watch it old-fashioned on TV, it is, I think, Sundays at 8/7 Central on Food Network. So it's a show that's just on the air. You can watch it. We're watching it as it's premiering. It ends roughly around the same time that Top Chef will start, which is a big one. Because some shows, it would end too early. We'd have to fill time till Top Chef. Some shows would completely overlap, and then we'd miss Top Chef.
Can't do
Top
that.
Chef is like a crown jewel for us.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, so we had to end, and this will time out nicely. It is old enough as a show that we could make rules around it. So this is another one where it's like some people would suggest a new show. Someone suggested 24 and 24, which sounds so interesting. It was 24 chefs cooking for 24 hours straight. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. But because it's only one season in, we don't know how it works.
Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of know, what sort of patterns there are.
Exactly.
Then you can have the points. You can kind of see how it's different from the other shows, just in case we score it too similarly or whatever.
Exactly.
So.
Whereas Worst Cooks in America, we're on season 28. It's a well-oiled machine.
Wow.
People know how it works. So to make the rules for this, because I haven't watched the show before, I just Googled a bunch of Worst Cooks in America bingo, Worst Cooks in America drinking game.
Wow.
Like, what are the things that come up a lot that people are like, oh, yes, I know that as a hallmark of the show.
And people have created these already. Yeah, I guess
people have strong
28
opinions.
Seasons in. Okay, great.
I also like that this season is a celebrity season. Seems like a good time to hop on the train because it's like, we kind of already get a sense of who these people are. We kind of already know who they are. I don't know how well they can cook, but it's easy to hop on and just be like, oh, yeah, I trust this face. Or I don't trust this face.
Yes. I mean, a lot of faces not to trust.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of the villains element. But yes, I was all for that, too, because I'm a big Traders fan. I've been watching...
British or American or both?
I watch both.
Okay.
I just started one of the New Zealand ones.
Wow.
But, what it really, that's just a different game, different format, of course.
Yeah.
But I think what really it highlights is, we've been in this reality verse for so long that you
Yes.
can now pluck these celebrities from Survivor, and everybody remembers
Yes.
that guy from season 7, and you know, and it's like, I don't even watch those other shows, but you really get a respect for them, and you
Mm-hmm.
realize, like, man, you could just have left your job, you know, and gotten into the reality verse, and
Yep.
then because you're just really good at that, like, make a career out of it. They're like 30 years in running some of
Yeah,
these
yeah,
people.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
incredible. Well,
This is
probably
their whole racket. There's their
more,
circuit.
yeah, truly. So this is, you know, kind of a second tier of that. I think Trader's more popular, but you know,
Drastically,
say
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of these people applied to Traders, they didn't they didn't make it
Yes.
in season
Yeah,
2 or
yeah.
whatever. So they're here, and this is pretty great. And maybe if they do well here, they'll be on Traders.
That does bring me to one of my cons, I'll say, because I was weighing out the pros and cons of doing Worst Cooks in America. One of them is that Worst Cooks in America doesn't seem to be that popular of a show.
Shit.
I don't think there are that many Worst Cooks in America fans who are going to be like, I wonder if there's more content about this, and then find our podcast. I think it's mostly people from our podcast who are going to be like, I guess I'm going to start watching Worst Cooks in America.
Hey, you're welcome, Worst Cooks. But also, yeah, I mean, you know, then there's some interesting thing there. Maybe it's not saturated, the meta market for this show.
Yeah.
So if, you know, hopefully we'll be top result if you're looking for more companionship.
That's true.
Watching it.
Yeah. We're right on page 1 of Google.
Oh,
we're right there.
Wow, the dream.
I did find a Reddit when you just search for Worst Cooks in America. I found a Reddit thread from the most current past season, not the current season. And people, it was just a general Reddit thread of people being like, the show sucks now, right?
Oh, no. Well, I will say that's a lot of Reddit threads.
Yeah.
A lot of Reddits do devolve into like, man, this just complaining.
Especially for shows that have been around for 28 seasons.
Yeah, especially that. Because why else would, if you're really that passionate, like, you're probably not positive passionate.
Yeah.
I
also think that a lot of the criticism was like, this show feels fake and produced now. Like, there's no way these people are that bad at cooking.
Oh, interesting.
But with celebrities, I'm like, you know, they're
They
already
might.
performers.
I mean, yeah, they'll be better at faking if it is fake,
Yeah,
and then they also might be that bad if they've really just poured like all their energy
Yes.
into some other different skill, or they, you know, grew up and never had to cook because they've been famous
Yeah.
their whole lives. I don't know.
Yeah. So it should be fun. There's also I might save most of what I'm about to say for the first proper episode, but I skimmed through last season to get a sense of like how the episodes work, like what the structure is, and just the tone of the show is so it's very light. It's not serious.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I think when people are like surprised at the artifice of it, of being like, the show feels fake, I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it does feel like it's from the early 2000s, not in a Hell's Kitchen kind of way, in like there's like wacky flying graphics, there's like sound effects, you know what I mean?
Like boing.
Yeah, it feels like you're watching like a Japanese game show almost.
Oh,
you know?
okay, yeah. Wipeout kind of.
Yeah,
you know.
it's tonally so different from like Top Chef and MasterChef. So I think that's another reason I'm excited for it.
Cool. Yeah, very different from what we're used to then.
Okay, so again, I don't think that any of our current listeners need an explanation of how our podcast works. But just in case you're the world's biggest Worst Cook in America fan, and you find our podcast and you're like, let me start at the beginning, we'll walk you through it. If you've never played any kind of fantasy sports before, it's really easy. In this episode, which is the draft, we're each going to pick our celebrity recruits. That's what they're called in this show. They're not like contestants or chefs. They're recruits.
Interesting.
So it's like boot camp.
Right.
So we each pick our recruits for the season, and based on how our recruits perform on Worst Cooks in America, we earn points, and the person with the most points at the end of the season wins. Pretty simple. We do change up the rules a little bit for every show that we do on this podcast. So you can find this season's rules on our Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. I sort of mentioned this earlier, but I haven't watched this show before. So in order to make the rules, I skimmed, you know, and this is kind of what I got. All this to say, the rule system is up. You know, if we get midway through the season and it's like these rules don't make any sense, we can reconvene.
Cool.
But here are the rules that I have. Oh, another caveat for rules, I'll say. A lot of these I didn't know if they should be positive points or negative points. Because it is Worst Cooks in America. You're sort of rooting for them to be bad. Do you know what I mean? So if someone messes up, I'm like, do I reward that or do I take away points? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and then to be clear, the one who wins is still the best of them.
I think they're literally called like most improved chef in America or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is tricky though, because there might be some things where it's like, that's so epic, like, you know, for this show, like I want to see them, you know, totally, I don't know,
exactly.
break a piece of
Right. If someone like burns something, you're like, am I rooting for that or against that?
Right.
So anyway.
And it'll probably happen a lot.
It'll certainly happen a lot based on the bingo cards and drinking games that I've seen online. Okay. Here's kind of what I have. So every episode seems to have 3 challenges for the most part. I found a few episodes with 2 challenges, some where they would do like 2 and then a bonus. But for the most part, every episode is 3 challenges. Here's what it looks like. There's usually an opening like team challenge. It's usually a relay race of some sort. And usually it's a whole team that wins. So I'm going to say for that challenge, every member of the winning team gets a half point.
Ooh.
This is going to be a high-scoring season.
Nice.
People are scoring left and right. The second challenge is usually what they call the skill drill. And it's usually the host chefs, the team captains will be like, I'm going to demonstrate how to cook something. You're going to recreate it. That's called the skill drill. I'm going to say if you win the skill drill, you get 1 point. And by the way, the show is split up into 2 teams, and each team has a winner. So there's going to be like 2 winners for every challenge.
Got it.
So again, a lot of points going on. And then the last challenge is called the main dish challenge. If you win that, you get 1.5 points. So for the 3 challenges across the episode, it steps up. You get a half point, you get 1 point, you get 1.5 points, basically. If you make it to the finale, that's 2 points. And if you win the whole thing, if you win the title of Most Improved Chef in America, you get 3 points.
Wow.
So that's the basics. That's structure points. Here's the fun stuff. These next 3 are carried over from our last season, which was Great British Bake Off. You get a half point if you have to start something over. Simple, easy. You get a half point if you cry. I actually don't think it's going to happen a lot this season. Celebrities don't cry on reality TV.
Yeah, and it's not the same stakes here, it seems, or whatever. Like, it's more silly, lighthearted. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think that's going to be there, but it's there. Half point for crying. And you get a half point, I'm going to say, if your dish, if your pan, or if the food you are cooking hits the floor. Because these are the worst cooks in America, people tend to drop everything. So to me, I'm just like, whatever hits the floor, that's a half point.
Cool.
And I think it's going to happen a lot.
Fun.
So there's that. Here are the ones that I wrote specifically for this show, Worst Cooks in America. You get a half point if you break something. If you break a tool, if you break a utensil, if you break a machine. Apparently people do this all the time where they're like, I don't know how to use a KitchenAid mixer. And it explodes.
They choose the wrong one.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't
like
work.
Stirring too hard with a spoon, it snaps, whatever. You break it, it's a half point. You also get a half point if you cut yourself, burn yourself, injure yourself, call for a medic. Anything of that sort.
Oh, no.
That's a half point. Apparently happens a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. It's dangerous in there.
Okay, here are the negatives. You lose a half point if you are freaked out by an ingredient. And
Seems
this,
like...
just scrubbing through the last season, I did see this happen more than once.
Oh, interesting. Did they try to spur them with something kind of
no,
out
it's
there?
it's usually just like, so again, these are like Worst Cooks in America. These are people who aren't used to cooking.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, today you're going to cook like, we're going to teach you how to like break down a lobster. And they're like, oh, it's alive.
Sure.
So
Oh,
to me, it's like,
okay,
if you get like a special shot of being like,
hard.
ugh, I don't do seafood. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, they might not. Or like, they're just like, well, this looks like raw. Like, that's really
exactly.
different. Yeah.
So that you lose a half point. Because to me, that has nothing to do with your skill. That's just like your constitution as a person.
Right. And like, it does sound like, yeah, some of them had specific, in their bios, like some of them had specific things where they're like, you know, they have a fear of this or even doing that. Yeah, and it's like, oh,
exactly.
God, if that's your threshold, I don't know.
Yeah, one of them was afraid of the oven, and I'm like, that does not bode well.
Dang it, yeah.
That's a real weakness is cakes moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's tough. But hey, it worked out for Dylan.
And then the last one is you lose a half point if you struggle with the pronunciation of something.
Oh, God.
Because I feel like this...
Sure, they might have some ingredient or some
and
French
they've never
thing.
heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to do that.
I have to make a remoulade. Yeah,
Yeah. They'll definitely also like play it up to make it funny.
Exactly, yeah. They have a sense of camera
guys.
readiness, you know?
Yeah, they know what's up.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our point system. What do you think? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think those are all really... Like, well, I could definitely see them all happening.
Yeah.
Even the, even honestly, like the tears one, I know we said probably won't happen, but I'm like, I could see it happening like in a funny way.
Oh,
like people are like
sure.
surprised they're crying, or maybe like
chopping onions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, chopping
Didn't
onions. That's right, because they wouldn't know how to like. Well, they wouldn't know how to like chop it correctly or shield their eyes. But also just like because it's so heightened, like there could be something that surprises them.
Okay,
that like you have a tear reaction, which you know. That could be funny,
sure.
dramatic.
Yeah, they're accepting an award and they do the stage cry. You know?
Sure, yeah, but they're really good at actually producing tears in that moment because they're performers. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, okay, all right. So that's our point system. Again, we'll post that on our Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. I think it's time to start the draft. Tell me about your strategy. Did you do research? How are you going into this?
It was a pretty quick one, and I felt like less need to do research because they're celebrities already in their own ways. So I kind of was going off of like kind of what they're mentioning in the bio of like if they didn't say anything about cooking, it's like, well, then they might actually be good because I think the hope here is that they're recruiting these people who like are like, oh, she doesn't even know how to turn on the oven, right? Or like, oh, he doesn't even know how to hold a knife, and so that's like who they want. So if they don't mention any, they wouldn't want somebody who's like, oh, actually he really loves preparing food for his friends and doing dinner parties. It would be like, oh shoot, why is this guy even here? So I kind of was looking at that. I was also just looking at people who are doing stuff where they have to like memorize certain like steps or do a lot of systematic things, and a lot of them have that already because just by virtue of like performing or being in entertainment or whatever, like they kind of have to do that. But I was kind of looking at that a little bit.
This is what
more.
we talk about on Bake Off when it's like if you're an engineer, you probably have the same skills that a baker has.
Right. And
you're like if you have to memorize steps.
Totally. Yeah. And I didn't even know about that skill challenge, but it might be, watching somebody do something and you have to replicate that. Like it does take a certain amount of paying attention, I guess, and
critical
digesting.
Listening skills. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
How about you?
I read through their okay. I was familiar with about half of them, and the other half I'd never heard of.
Yeah, same, I think.
And so I had to read through their bios, and we'll do that now for the audience because I'm not expecting all of our audience to be familiar with Worst Cooks in America contestants.
And you have to have like a breadth of knowledge of all sorts of different reality shows.
Yes, exactly. And so I did read through their bios. Some of them I went with instinct. Some of them I went, like you said, like just I think that their skill set lends itself to cooking, so we'll see. And then some of them are wild cards. So quickly, here are the 10 contestants, and they're split up into two teams: celebrity heroes, celebrity villains. On the heroes side, we have Olympian Adam Rippon, who has I'll just read it. Olympian Adam Rippon may have a bronze medal for figure skating, but his culinary skills remain unranked. The Dancing with the Stars season 26 champion and Stars on Mars winner knows all about taking the cake. He's joined this boot camp hoping to come away with enough experience to take pressure off of his husband, who usually makes all of their meals. Did not know that he won Stars on Mars.
What is Stars on Mars?
It's a newer show on Fox, I think.
Okay.
And it is exactly what it sounds like.
Star on Mars?
They're like put in like a Mars simulator.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like
that is not.
We're locking you away. Pretend you're on a mission to Mars. You have to like work together to like do these missions, and also you're living together, and you're cut off from communication with other people.
Wow, I'm surprised I haven't heard of that. That's fascinating. But he won Stars on Mars.
He won Stars on Mars, so he can
that's
do that.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Second on Team Hero, Frankie Grande. As an Italian actor, dancer, and reality television star, Frankie Grande comes from a long line of talented chefs. Unfortunately, the cooking gene was not passed on to him. The 3-time Big Brother competitor wants to sharpen his kitchen skills up enough to make an authentic Italian meal his family will be proud of.
Okay, so many thoughts.
Okay, here we go. Hit me.
Okay, well, poor Frankie Grande only has come into kind of a larger public consciousness because of Ariana Grande, his sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then, yes.
Oh,
yes. This is
relation.
This is who the
Frankie Grande
is.
relation.
Well, yeah, what were you?
I don't know.
Okay,
I just thought people can have the same last name.
Well, no, I thought because I was like, I have so many thoughts, and then you were like, yeah. I thought that we were on the same page, but it's
sorry.
Okay. So lots to fill you in on.
Okay,
this is
yeah,
exciting.
hit me.
So he is.
This might change my draft.
Yeah. He's Ariana Grande's brother,
Oh.
but only recently did he become like more in the zeitgeist because she was dating or is dating that Ethan Slater SpongeBob guy.
Ethan Slater is fine.
Yeah, SpongeBob guy who left his wife. And then they kind of have the same face. So people keep referencing this one red carpet photo of Frankie Grande and another red carpet photo of Ethan Slater, and like putting them side by side, and it's like truly uncanny. So
I'm
it's
looking
kind
at their
of funny.
faces. I can see it.
Yeah, there's something funny about that. So otherwise, I wouldn't have known much about Frankie Grande.
Interesting. That does freak me out. I do. I don't want to call anyone out, and I don't want to say enough personally identifying details. But I do have friends where I'm like, your spouse looks an awful lot like your sibling.
Oh, wow. And it's typically like they have a brother if they're dating a man kind of thing. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I believe that could happen. I mean, because you're kind of like, there's a whole doppelganger thing too, where people often date people who are so similar to them. So it's like your biological sibling would also look like you.
Yeah. That was a whole Tumblr in the 2010s. I'm dating
sisters
myself.
are dating or whatever. Not sisters.
No, it's like my girlfriend looks
siblings
exactly
are
like
dating.
Siblings are dating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, still, I see it from time to time. Yeah, that pops up.
It's a thing. And I hope that if you fall into that category, you're just self-aware about it. That's all I ask. I'm not here to judge. Love who
and
you
it's
love.
funny, and like that's
it's
fine.
Funny. You
it's
just
not
have
your
to acknowledge
actual
it.
sibling. Yeah.
Come on, there's an unusual thing in the room. You gotta
right.
label it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Team hero, Trinity the Tuck. With Southern roots, Trinity the Tuck is no stranger to a good home-cooked meal, as long as she's not the one making it. The RuPaul's Drag Race veteran has won many a drag competition, but has never been taught how to cook. She'd like to get some kitchen skills under her belt to please her future man. Trinity, Adam Rippon, I know him as an Olympian. Did not know who Frankie Grande was. I know who Trinity the Tuck is.
Sure.
I'm not a huge Drag Race person, but I know who Trinity is. So
yeah, no, same.
Known quantity to me. And I feel good about that.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, yeah, I think that's a good sign. Also, the fact that, I feel like, again, the bio's she's never been taught how to cook, but, and it's well, she could be self-taught. You know what I mean?
That's
so it's
true.
almost stepping around it.
Yeah.
So.
Very trickily worded.
Yeah.
Team hero, Sebastian Bach. A legend in the heavy metal music world and lead singer for the band Skid Row, Sebastian Bach never had the time to perfect his cooking skills. Though he's no stranger to competition, he starred in Supergroup, during which 5 musicians came together in Las Vegas to put on a concert to save rock and roll. He wants to learn to cook to show some love to his wife. I have a lot to say here.
Okay, go.
Because I am a metal guy.
Right.
Skid Row, look... When you think of all-time great 80s metal bands, Skid Row is maybe 50th down on the list. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They're no Poison, you know?
Sure,
they're in the same ilk, sure. And not to knock Sebastian Bach. I'm a big fan. I do listen to Skid Row, but I'm just not, okay. I also had never heard of Supergroup, and I just bookmarked that and I was I want to watch that show. Because I don't know
I haven't seen
I don't know what year it's from. The notion of a show meant to save rock and roll seems silly to me. The fact that they would cast people, presumably in Sebastian Bach's cohort, which means people from the 80s, hair metal scene. I'm hell yeah. I want to see that show. Mm-hmm. And then finally, wants to learn how to cook to show some love to his wife. That's good motivation. To me, I'm okay, I think he's got the drive.
Right.
You know?
Prove himself.
Yeah, I think so.
I will say this. I think I only know him from Gilmore Girls.
What relation does he have to Gilmore Girls? Is he an actor?
Yeah, I think he basically played a version of himself in the sense, but he was in Lane's band.
Oh, hell yeah.
And because Lane is the drummer, right? So she joins the band, they run off, and then it's her and her boyfriend I think they get married in the show, I can't remember. So then this guy is kind of I assume the leader.
Oh, that's amazing. I never watched Gilmore Girls, so this is all news to me.
If I'm wrong, it's somebody who looks very similar, but I'm pretty sure. Okay. I remember looking up and being oh yeah, he was actually in a real band, so he's not just an actor.
Right,
he's actually that person. They cast him kind of stunt casting in a way, you know. But yeah, he had a pretty substantial role.
Okay, the first paragraph of his Wikipedia article. He has acted on Broadway. Already love him.
Oh, right, yeah.
And has made appearances in film and television such as Trailer Park Boys, The Masked Singer, and Gilmore Girls. So,
okay, great. Oh, Masked Singer. Okay, yeah, another one for everybody to do.
Yeah, incredible.
So yeah, very. That's my entry point to Sebastian Bach.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, rounding out Team Hero, we've got Cheryl Burke. As the only dancer to win 2 consecutive seasons of Dancing with the Stars, legend Cheryl Burke knows what it takes to accept the famous Mirror Ball trophy, but her stellar ballroom skills don't transfer to the kitchen. Cheryl claims she's the worst cook in the entire world and wants to learn how to whip up a meal for basic survival needs. I'm going to save my thoughts on Cheryl Burke for the draft.
Okay.
But do you have any thoughts?
Well, a few things. Definitely the dance thing was good in the sense of can learn steps.
Yes.
And on the fly probably, and then also just when you said she's the only dancer who won back to back, it's like she's paired with the celebrity on Dancing with the Stars or whatever, the star.
Mm-hmm.
So that star might be, who knows, right? Like maybe she got lucky and they were both really good, or maybe she's just really good at adapting, and that could be a really good skill. I mean,
she's a
probably
good teacher,
both.
and if you're a good teacher, you're probably a good student.
Right, good teacher, that's true.
Yeah. So skill Jill, she can watch, she can learn, she can execute.
Yes. But the fact that she said she's so bad makes me not confident in her. But then also I'm like, she could just be like a high achieving person who's like, I'm so bad. This is the thing I'm bad at.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, well, it's just because you're not winning championships with it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. For survival skills, that's a little concerning.
That I agree. The last sentence kind of lost me.
Yeah.
All right. So that's Team Hero. Here's Team Villain. First, we've got Corinne Olympios. Known for stirring the pot on The Bachelor and House of Villains, Corinne Olympios hardly knows how to stir boiling pasta. Although she didn't walk away with a relationship on The Bachelor, she wants to embrace her Greek background and learn how to make appetizing meals for her future husband and kids. Okay, wait, remind me, you watched The Bachelor?
Yeah, and I actually did watch her season, and
Okay.
I think I saw her. I think she was on
House of
consecutive
Villains.
ones. I mean, I didn't see
okay.
House of Villains. Yeah, I've never seen House of Villains, but yeah, so this was a while ago, and I kind of everybody gets blended together, but I remember her being kind of a villain in Bachelor, and I think she did a good job of playing that role. And
anyone
then,
who willingly signs on to House of Villains, you're accepted.
Yeah, that's fair. And then but I will say I kind of didn't have a lot of confidence because I was thinking. At the time she was quite young, so obviously she's older now, but it's like I don't know, it was giving off like maybe maybe not the most, wouldn't be the one who's the best at doing household
as opposed
things.
to someone like Sebastian Bach, who's just an older man. He has more life experience.
Right, like has had to come across cooking for himself.
He's statistically been in a kitchen more times.
Yeah, let's hope, right? So so that was my thoughts. I think I put pretty low.
What hooked me at the end of hers was wants to learn how to make appetizing meals for her future husband and kids. If she's famous from The Bachelor, her whole brand is like dating. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, that to me is good motivation. If you're like, I want to be good to my husband and kids, I'm like, okay, then you actually want to learn how to
interesting.
cook.
Yeah.
It feels in character.
But I do think...
I don't know how ingenuous that is, but...
Yeah, interesting. Okay, my thoughts on Bachelor people, so many things.
Here
okay,
we go.
So,
Here we go.
Just the fact. Okay, so there's this one. I think there's this one guy who many relations removed, but married one of the Bachelorette people or whatever.
Okay.
And I think his life is just going on dates with her. It's they're married, but it's
sure.
she's because it was first she join me on my Journey of Love blog, and then getting all these sponsored dates, and then she married, and now it's okay, now we're going on dates, and then actually I think they have kids, so it's okay, it's turning into family lifestyle blogging.
I see, yeah.
But I do think I'm that could be good, but also she maybe if she wants to be in the dating biz, she might just want to stay single and be dating.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe she shouldn't be too good at cooking because then she's gonna get wifed up too fast.
Well, I feel like cooking a nice meal is a classic go-to date 2 or 3 move.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, she could get a sponsorship from HelloFresh.
Right,
and
exactly.
Do, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
all right,
call
we'll
me,
see.
Corinne. We'll get
see.
the brand deals going.
Team villain Tiffany Pollard. Brutally honest and as real as they come, Tiffany Pollard rose to fame after starring on the dating game shows Flavor of Love and I Love New York. She recently competed on House of Villains Season 2 with her fellow teammate Wes Bergman, who we'll meet shortly. Her worst fear is the oven, but now that she's in her 40s, she wants to become a master in the kitchen. Worst fear is the oven. That's I clocked that, and that's a real cakes is his weakness.
That's
thing.
funny. I mean, I could see it being a good bit for
yes.
One episode, and then she conquers her fear, and she's actually fine. You know what I mean? Because I just can't. It's so funny. But I also could think maybe she has a fear of the old timey oven, of a pizza oven or something where it's but your modern day oven, she'd be actually it's not, it's fine. It's
right.
as long as I have
someone's
mittens.
gonna teach her electric convection oven. She's gonna be oh,
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, but it seemed I was a little worried about that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Team villain Wes Bergman, who we just mentioned. As a competitor on The Challenge, Wes Bergman jumps out of helicopters, endures brutal physical competitions, and runs marathons. But cooking a presentable meal has proven to be his ultimate challenge. Even a task as simple as frying bacon puts Wes to the test during boot camp. But in keeping with his competitive drive, he says he'll do whatever it takes to win. This one's interesting because it's the only one that alludes directly to something that happens in an episode.
Oh,
the person who wrote the bio was you're never going to believe this. in boot camp, this guy can't fry bacon. That's where we're at.
Right. So that was bad. It's like, oh, we know something bad is about to happen. This guy's in Traitors season 3.
Oh,
that's currently
okay.
going on. So it's kind of he did qualify for both Traitors and Worst Cooks.
Interesting.
And the challenge, the old
so he's on
crown.
The circuit. He's
you know, as I say. But yeah, he's definitely on the circuit. I don't know. He hasn't popped out to me in Traitors yet as anybody particularly.
Here's what I take away. If you just look at his picture, he's a buff man. Where is he? He's up here. He's a big guy.
Sure.
And this is a little bit how I feel about Cheryl Burke. If you're physically active, you can't know nothing in the kitchen. You might not.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to know how to like roast a fish or like
do like a chicken breast.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They're always eating chicken breast.
You got to pump some protein. If you're going to look like that, there's no way that's happening with no skills in the kitchen.
Right. Unless you're like, somebody's cooking for you, which could be happening, but probably not.
Yeah. Same with Adam Rippon. Any form of athlete or physical, I'm like, you don't know nothing.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So I'm leaning a little bit on that. All right. Team villain, Rachel Riley. Big Brother royalty, Traitors, and Snake in the Grass star, and 3-time Amazing Race competitor, Rachel Riley has a reputation for being cutthroat and strategic. Unfortunately, her strategy ends at the kitchen door. Rachel's cooking method consists of taking random things, putting them in a pot, and calling it dinner. She wants to refine her skills so she can cook for her kids. This is the most I had never heard of her. And I was like, that's a lot of reality shows. She's truly made a career out of this.
Yeah, right. So I guess she was really a standout, you know?
She's got to be good TV.
Yeah. So that's good. And then the other thing is that the pot thing.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, she could be doing something where she could say that, and it's like, actually, that could be good still.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I just throw random things in a pot. I don't know. Humble, right? So that's where I was kind of like, maybe she's okay, even though, like, I guess she's never cooked for kids.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't eat, but
they're eating just like Big Macs.
Yeah, Lunchables.
Yeah. Which no shame. That's how I grew up.
Uncrustables, we've discussed.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, team villain Bartice Bowden. Self-proclaimed villain Bartice Bowden is best known for stints on reality dating shows Perfect Match and Love is Blind. Parentheses, he left his then fiancée at the altar. Luckily, he's entering the Worst Cooks in America kitchen with more commitment. He's dedicated to transforming his, quote, freeball cooking methods into useful skills so he can craft meals for his son. Are you a Love is Blind person?
No.
Okay, at the time, he did not have a son.
Oh, wow.
So when I read this, I was like, hold up. And I had to Google it, and he did, after he left the show, he left Nancy at the altar.
Okay.
Left the show, and now he has a son. And I'm like, whew, that's villain.
Wow, yeah, that's quick. And then the son's ready for some solid foods. Let's go. Better get to cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, the altar thing was definitely, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, villain, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, also, it's like, I don't know how that show works, but I'm sure they were meant for each other.
You really got it. It's so good.
I know. It does seem like it's the one that, so it's another blind spot of mine. But yeah, for sure. I think I was kind of, like, he might be good because again, I was sort of like, well, I have a little less confidence in him because of the villain aspect, but the fact that he still has a cooking style that could be free, like cooking can be kind of freeballing because you're
a lot
like,
of people freeball it.
You just have the instincts for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's here to learn how to cook better, but not how to learn how to cook.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. His kid ate something.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our 10 recruits. And there's 3 of us, you, me, and Iffy. So each of us is going to draft 3 recruits to our team, and there will be 1 left on the bench who's just going to languish for the rest of the season. Okay. Since you get 3 recruits, it would probably behoove you to draft some mix of heroes and villains.
Right.
2 heroes, 1 villain, 2 villains, 1 hero. Who knows? Because it is a team show, We're going to use a snake draft system, and Iffy isn't here, so we will auto-draft for him. The last full season of our podcast was Great British Bake Off Holidays. Sierra, you came in last place for that, so you will draft first. Nice. I'll go second. If he won, so he will go third, and then we'll snake back around. And we'll do that until we have 9 on the board. Are you ready to draft?
I am.
Okay. Sierra, you get the first pick of the 2025 Worst Cooks in America, Season 28. Celebrity Heroes and Villains.
Wow.
I had to remember all the subtitles.
Yeah, no, that was all.
Who's going to be your number 1 pick?
Okay, number 1, I'm going to go right off the top with Adam Rippon.
Adam Rippon.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me why.
like kind of what we discussed. He's obviously an Olympian. That takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of learning on the fly. So I think he could definitely pick stuff up, new skills up fast.
Yeah.
And then kind of, just, I mean, he was always my first pick, even coming before all this.
Wow.
But, I was just, the fitness aspect is good because you got to probably be cooking. He did say, okay, like his partner cooks or whatever. And he's like, he wants to be able to cook for him. But like, I think that doesn't necessarily mean like that guy could be really, really good. So it doesn't mean that he doesn't cook at all. You know what I mean? Like I think it could just be a matter of like there's just somebody better, and so it's easier if you do it. But like he would if in the event, that that no one else is there, I guess. So I think I was confident that that would be a safe pick.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Good pick. All right. My first pick is gonna be Cheryl Burke.
Oh yes.
From Team Hero.
Yeah, another.
And I'll tell you why. And this is full. I'm gonna pull an iffy here.
Okay.
This is why I'm drafting Cheryl Burke because she is Filipina.
Oh
and
wow,
I'm Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's half, but I'm pretty sure her mom is Filipina.
That could be good.
You do not have a Filipino mom and not know how to cook.
Interesting.
My mom did not teach me how to cook, and I can cook a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I've got the basics of adobo just like in my genes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way she grew up in that kitchen, didn't learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And then also for everything else we were talking about, which is like she's an athlete, she's a good teacher, she's a dancer, she knows how to follow steps. To me, it's like a slam dunk, easy no-brainer.
Right.
Number one draft pick for me.
And then that actually makes me more confident too when she said like for like I'm a bad cook, right? She was kind of self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It's like maybe just compared to
exactly
her family or something,
right.
Her mom.
Yeah, her dad's side, her white dad's side of the family.
Well, yeah, that too. There, she picked up that more.
Okay. So
great.
now we reach iffy. Okay, traditionally in sports, or fantasy sports, if you were absent, you would just get auto drafted, which is a randomized, computerized thing. I think we do the nice thing here, and we draft in the spirit of Iffy, because Iffy has a tradition on our podcast, which is he always goes for the black chefs first.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And Iffy gets 2 picks in a row here, because it's a snake draft system.
Oh, yeah.
And there are 2 black chefs. So I am inclined to just give him the 2 black chefs as his first and second pick. So I'm going to, in good faith, give Iffy Tiffany Pollard from Team Villain.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to give him Bartiz Bowden from Team Villain.
Pretty good.
And those are going to be his first 2 picks.
Okay. I think that's still, honestly, that they were both kind of in the middle top for me. Like, actually more exact middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope he doesn't feel like he got, scared, someone who's scared of the others.
He's going to be fine with it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, this brings it back around to me. And for my second pick, okay, I've got 1 hero on the board. I got to go villain to balance it out, right? I don't want to be stuck with all heroes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
So I'm going to go villain, and if I'm looking at the villain side, I don't know Rachel Riley, and that doesn't mean she's bad, but you got to go with the devil you know. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So between Bachelor Girl and the Challenge guy, they're honestly both strong picks to me. Because again, I think that Corinne has the motivation to want to learn how to cook well, but Wes Bergman's like a big guy. So I think he knows how to cook already.
Right, okay.
So I think I'm leaning a little bit Wes Bergman. I'm going to go Wes Bergman.
Okay.
For my round 2 pick.
Okay, fair.
All right, now you get 2 picks here.
Oh, hell
Snake
yeah.
draft
Okay,
system.
so this is completing my team.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know what I want to do.
Okay, here we go. Hit me.
Okay, I'm going to do Trinity the Tuck.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're okay.
Bad.
For those of you listening to the podcast,
strong,
we just
too
dropped
strong.
our board.
It was too
Okay,
strong.
Here we go.
All right.
Trinity the Tuck. Tell me why Trinity the Tuck.
Oh, I think a lot of the reasons we had earlier. I think it's possible. Like basically, her bio was just like no one's ever taught me how to cook, but it's like, well, you could be very self-taught, which is a lot of chefs today, a lot of cooks, home cooks. Also, like she is a drag queen, like, and will like knows how to take instruction, perform, has to do the makeup all the time, has to pick out, like there's so much detail in that.
Transferable skills.
That's basically similar to like the Dancing with the Stars or like the Olympian. It's like
that makes sense.
She's gonna learn on the fly. She's gonna know what's going on. So I feel like, and like I just I feel like there was something else. Oh yeah, and the motivation. She was like, wants to be able to cook for her loved one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay.
And yeah.
That checks
Okay.
out. All right.
So
There's
then,
four recruits left on the board. You got one more pick.
Right. And then, of course, now I have two heroes. So now I'm going to pick.
You got to go villain.
I'm actually picking Rachel.
You're picking Rachel Riley.
Yeah. Because, again, oh, yes, we'll be very careful.
Carefully, gingerly put that on the board.
There she is. She had the one about putting stuff in a pot.
Yes.
And I thought, well, maybe that's a good stew.
Have you not watched her season of Traitors? Because it mentioned she was on Traitors.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing. I don't remember.
Okay.
So she must have been kicked out early.
Okay.
There's so many people at the top, and they kind of pick them off like at random.
Yeah.
And sometimes the ones who are like have a notorious record, like Big Brother, especially, or Survivor, like they sometimes get targeted, or they win. Honestly, so who knows? But so I was kind of like, well, maybe she was there and I didn't recognize her, and I don't remember now.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, so I think she wasn't like. Yeah, she ended up kind of being high because of that. I don't know why. Oh, because of the pot thing, I guess. And I didn't hear much about her being like egregiously bad. So I was like,
okay,
well, maybe
yeah, she's just
fine.
like villain bad, but she's not like bad at cooking bad.
Right. And if the out of the villains, it was definitely like, yeah, I wasn't as worried maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We'll
so
see.
that's your team.
Yeah, that's my team.
Okay. I gotta round it out now. There's 3 recruits left on the board. We got Frankie Grande and Sebastian Bach over on the heroes. And on the villain side, we got Corinne Olympios. I think this is so tough because now I have one hero and one villain, so I could go either way. It's a real toss-up. I'm going to eliminate Frankie Grande because, again, the devil you know. I don't know anything about Frankie Grande, and that's on me. That's like a blind spot for me, and that's my disadvantage. I know who Sebastian Bach is, and I sort of know who Corinne Olympios is. So I've got one hero and one villain. Sebastian Bach, I feel like, has a slight disadvantage insofar as he is older. I'll just say it. He's an older man.
We watched MasterChef Generations. We know that it can impact your performance
exactly.
in the kitchen.
Although if he drops a bunch of stuff, that could get me points.
Sure. I guess so. Yeah. But he might not because he's I don't know, a musician.
Yeah, he's never dropped a microphone.
He can't drop those. He can't drop a guitar. I'm just kidding. I don't know what he plays.
I feel like if I go Sebastian Bach, this is the way that Iffy drafts a lot of the time. He's like, I think I'm going to get points off like personality.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he goes for like the half points and the quarter points.
And yeah, that is a good tactic.
But I think that Corinne has the stamina to go far. I think she can actually win challenges.
Okay.
Because I think she strikes me as someone who genuinely wants to get cooking knowledge out of this.
Yeah, it could be good for her.
Her brand,
influencers. Food and influencing go hand in hand.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. I think she has more at stake. I think that if Sebastian Bach wants to learn how to cook for his wife, he can hire a personal chef to do that. I think Corinne wants to make this part of her brand. She wants to do well, so I think she's going to go far. I think she's got point potential. I think I'm going to go Corinne Olympios.
Okay.
And I am now 2 villains, 1 hero, as opposed to your 2 heroes, 1 villain.
Wow. The scales have tipped.
Okay, so now we have a decision to make for Iffy. He has 2 villains. He gets a hero no matter what. The question is, does he get Frankie Grande or does he get Sebastian Bach? In my opinion, we should flip a coin. But if you think that there is a better system.
Yeah, I think at this point, since he's got 2 villains and he will... it's not screwing him on the team thing. That's probably smart. So we've got, and I know who I would draft. Is that
I want to hear. I'm curious.
Oh,
who would you draft?
Well, I had Frankie Grande at the bottom.
Okay, interesting. Why?
Very small. But I think I was thinking. Also, I think Sebastian Bach being a musician, maybe you'll get to learn. You can learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Frankie Grande. I guess I was sort of like, I don't really know much about him other than he's Ariana Grande's brother and looks like Ethan Slater. But also I was like the little I know about Ariana Grande is like, I think they grew up somewhat rich and then she became quite
I didn't
well
know
off.
that.
I don't know.
Okay.
And then she also is very famous young, so like they have money. So I was like, he probably never really had to learn how to cook.
That makes sense.
But I don't know. That's such a blatant guessing game.
Yeah.
That I don't know about. I don't know him, but so that was like my one little thing to tip the scales if I were to like choose between him and someone else.
Okay. All right. Do Do you want to be a good friend and just give iffy Sebastian Bach then, or do you think we should flip a coin?
Only if you also have that feeling where it's like he's definitely way below him. You know,
I would agree with that
Sebastian.
because I almost drafted Sebastian Bach.
That's true. And I do feel like Iffy would draft Sebastian Bach. Is that
Let's
possible?
give him Sebastian
Okay,
Bach.
okay.
Yeah, all right. So if he's going to complete his team with Sebastian Bach,
Okay.
Frankie Grande on the bench for the season. Sorry, Frankie.
I'll take Frankie.
All right.
Oh, yay! Okay.
Val's got Frankie.
Watch him win.
I know. Yeah, Frankie's going to win the whole thing. Val's going to get dinner on us.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, that's our draft. How do you feel about your team?
I feel good. Yeah. I got a lot of good people. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got to select first. So that helped.
I don't feel great about having two villains, a majority villain team.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I feel like villains win though, so I could see them winning a lot of the top first challenge.
Yeah.
And then the whole
I
thing.
agree.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good TV either way. So, in that sense, sure, bring it on.
Yeah, and if what you're saying, like I do think like they might not play into it that much. Like they kind of like Corinne to me seems like somebody who's like not gonna be a villain in this situation.
Right.
She kind of started out that way, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't see her in recent times, but I didn't get the impression that she
Same
was
with
like,
Wes Bergman. I mean, I didn't watch the challenge, but nothing in his bio strikes me as particularly villainous.
Right. Yeah. On Trader so far, he hasn't really done much to earn that.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I've got the nice villains.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited. We'll be bringing you a new episode every week. We'll talk about what happened on Worst Cooks in America. We'll total up the points at the end of every episode, and then at the end of the season, we'll crown a winner. Like I said, Worst Cooks in America airs Sundays on Food Network and on Max, I think the next day, but it doesn't really matter too much for us because we're like 2 weeks behind.
Sure.
So next day is irrelevant. We're
right.
watching an episode from 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you like our podcast, head to MaximumFun.org/join. That is where you can support us directly for as little as $5 a month. We really appreciate it. Thank you if you're already contributing. If you want to reach out to us with thoughts or suggestions or whatever, you can DM us on Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League or send us an email at chef@MaximumFun.org. If you're going to play along with us at home, we would love to see it. Please tag us. We love seeing your teams, especially because we know nothing about this show. So if you have expertise, let us know what's happening. For full unedited episodes, you can check us out on YouTube. Thanks again to my co-host, Sierra Cotto. We will be back next week. I think if you'll be able to zoom in for that one.
Sweet.
Either way, we will be here next week. Bye-bye. TV Chef Fantasy League is a Maximum Fun production. Our producer is Valerie Moffat. Our theme song is by Dylan Van Auken. Our artwork is by Sabrina Volante. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at TV Chef Fantasy League.